Hello all and welcome to Code Rhetoric with Tam Talk and our first medical coding logic games. This should be interesting. So pretty much we're just going to play a little, again, logic games as the title states to kind of help us prepare for our coding certification exam, just to kind of give us an idea which will allow us to utilize our analytical skills and just to mix it up a little bit and have some fun. So let's get started. So with our first game, we're going to play a little sequencing. So with the sequencing example, our patient was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and is currently using insulin. And so I'll repeat that. The patient was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and is currently using insulin. So as part of the sequencing game, how should those ICD-10-CM codes or diagnosis codes be listed? Is it A, E12.9, Z79.4, or is it B, Z79.4, and then E12.9, or is it C, E11.9, and then Z79.4, or should it be D, Z79.4 and E11.9? So our correct answer is letter C, which is E11.9, which represents the type 2 diabetes, and then Z79.4, which represents insulin use. How do we know this? Of course, the diabetes is the main diagnosis, or the main, I won't say main term, but the main diagnosis. And if the patient wasn't diabetic, then technically there wouldn't be no need for insulin usage. So we would assign our diagnosis and then Z79.4. And then when you refer to your tabular list, like first you look up your diagnosis code in the index category or in the index section, then you will go back to your tabular list just to confirm the specificity. And there are some additional instructions that will tell you that if the patient or the doctor documented that the patient is also currently using insulin, you are to assign Z79.4. So my rationale is you want to refer to your tabular list for diabetes and follow the guidelines as it relates to assigning those additional codes such as the insulin usage. So next we're going to get into our hybrid logic game. So hybrid is a combination of sequencing as well as grouping. So in our example here, we have where the provider diagnosed a new patient with pneumonia due to coronavirus disease. He performed a detailed history, a comprehensive exam, and as well as a moderate medical decision making. So here we're going to list the ICD-10-CM codes or diagnosis codes, as well as the evaluation and management code. So we have, again, some sequencing or as well as some grouping. So here we're dealing with ICD-10 as well as CPT or evaluation and management. But then with the sequencing, we want to make sure we are assigning the codes in the appropriate manner. So our rationale for this is when we are assigning our ICD-10 codes, again, the patient was diagnosed with pneumonia due to COVID. So per the coding guidelines, we're going to assign the ICD-10 code for COVID as our primary code, which is U07.1, and then our J12.82, which represents our pneumonia. Again, the patient is diagnosed with pneumonia due to COVID, so they had to have COVID first or coronavirus first in order for it to be associated with the pneumonia. So again, since pneumonia was due to COVID or coronavirus, you should assign the COVID diagnosis as primary and pneumonia as secondary. And then for our second category or grouping, which is our E&M code, we're going to assign 99203. Why? This is a new patient. Therefore, we assign a code from the new patient category, and then the history component is the lowest of the three components. And the three components are your history, your examination, and your medical decision making. Whenever you are assigning new patient codes as well as your consult codes, you want to go with the lowest category or component. So in this case, the patient had a detailed history, a comprehensive exam, as well as a moderate decision making. So our lowest of the three components is the history. And so our history represents a 99203. So therefore, the entire code would be 99203. And we will go into evaluation and management in another, I would say, tutorial. But right now, that is the rationale for this particular logic game. This is not quite the logic game, but it is beneficial to those of you who are preparing for your certification exam, or for those of you who just like to know. So here we have a true or false question. So the statement is the ICD-10-CM classifies dementia in categories F01, F02, and F03 on the basis of the etiology and severity of unspecified, mild, moderate, or severe. Again, the ICD-10-CM classifies dementia categories F01, F02, and F03 on the basis of the etiology and severity of unspecified, mild, moderate, or severe. Is this true or false? This is true. So according to our 2023 ICD-10-CM coding guidelines, as it relates to Chapter 5, mental, behavioral, and neurodevelopmental disorders, ranging for ICD-10 code range, F01 through F99, the ICD-10 classifies dementia categories F01, F02, and F03 on the basis of the etiology and severity, unspecified, mild, moderate, or severe. Selection of the appropriate severity level requires the provider's clinical judgment, and codes should be assigned only on the basis of the provider documentation as defined in the official guidelines for coding and reporting. Unless otherwise instructed by the classification, if the documentation does not provide information about the severity of the dementia, assign the appropriate code for unspecified severity. If a patient is admitted to an inpatient acute care hospital or other inpatient facility setting with dementia at one severity level and it progresses to a higher severity level, assign one code for the highest severity level reported during the stay. So this concludes our quick tutorial on medical coding logic games. To learn more, please visit our website at www.abrahammedicalcodingcoachllc.com, and be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, as well as LinkedIn.